Let's see how we can style text in our React Native apps. So I've removed our blue box. Now we only have our container view. Inside this view, let's add a text component. So text, let's say I love React Native. So here's our text. It looks very small. Let's add a bunch of styles to make it look better. First, I'm going to set font size to 30. Now it's bigger, it's better. We can set font family, but iOS and Android have different fonts. So in a real app, you have to use the platform API to detect the current platform and load a font that is supported on that platform. Now below this video, I'll put a link for you where you can find all the supported fonts on iOS and Android. Now, what about custom fonts? We can definitely use custom fonts here, but I'm not going to cover that in this course because both these platforms have plenty of beautiful fonts. But if you're curious, you can search for Expo custom fonts. On this page, you can see all the instructions for using custom fonts. It's really easy, but I'm not going to cover that in this course. So back to our code. For this demo, I'm going to use the Courier font on iOS. So here's the Courier font. Now look at the Android virtual device. We get this error. Courier is not a system font. So for Android, I'm going to use Roboto. But this font is not supported on iOS. So for this demo, I'm going to comment this out and use the default font, okay? Now let's set font style. We can set this to normal or italic. We also have font weight. We can set this to bold or a numeric value like 600. Now note that here we have to pass a string and not a number. So if I pass 600, we get this weird error. So this has to be a string. We can also set the color of a text. Let's set it to tomato. Another useful property is text transform. We can make this lowercase, uppercase, or we can capitalize it. So the first letter of every word will be capitalized. Here's the result. Another useful property is text decoration line. So here we can apply an underline or a line through like this. Now I'm going to delete this. Let's write more text so we have multiple lines. Let's say this is my first React Native app. So we have multiple lines. Let's make it a little bit longer. Here's some more text. Good. So as you see, our text is left aligned. We can change the alignment using the text align property. So we can make it right aligned. We can make it justify. We also have center here. Exactly the same properties we have in CSS. Now finally, the last property I'm going to talk about is line height. With this, we can determine the space between lines. So if I set it to a number like 10, now the lines are very close. Let's set it to 30. That's better. What if we set it to 60? So much space between our lines. So I'm going to set it back to 30. So these are the styles that we can apply to our text components. One thing you need to understand is that these properties are not available to other components. For example, if we go to our container view and try to set the font family or font size, look, it's not coming up because font family or font size is not a valid property for this component. So if we set this to a number like 10, nothing happens, we don't get any errors, but this style is not supported on a view component. And that means that here in React Native, unlike CSS, we don't have style inheritance. So in CSS, we can set our font attributes to a top level element like HTML or body, and other elements will automatically inherit those attributes. We don't have that concept in React Native. But how can we make sure that our text always looks the same across different screens? We'll talk about that in the next lesson.